sesi yok. Rüzgar sanıyorum. Çok değerli katılımcılar, çok değerli büyükelçiler, hepinizi saygıyla, sevgiyle selamlıyorum. If you allow me, first I will say a few things in my own language, then I will shift to English. Sinemada iki şeyi sevmiyorum aslında. Bir tanesi hışırtılı ve gıcırtılı yiyecek. İkincisi de film öncesi konulan reklamlar. Şimdi galiba film öncesi reklamlar kısmındayım. Onun için bu bölümün mümkün olduğu kadar kısa olması için çaba göstereceğim. Hepinizi saygıyla, sevgiyle selamlıyorum. Hoş geldiniz Mikta Film Festivali'ne. Değerli çalışma arkadaşım Belgin Hanım aslında Mikta'yı anlattı. Mikta Meksika'da doğdu. 10 yıl önce ve çok katı bir yapısı yok. Esnek bir yapısı var. İstişari bir yapı. Ama dünyanın en önemli bölgelerinde 5 tane ağır siklet stratejik ülke birçok konuda özellikle bölgesel ve küresel konularda Mikta sayesinde işbirliği yapıyor. Bir de Mikta'nın en sevdiğim özelliği çok tasarruflu bir örgüt olması. Bir sekreteryası yok, bir maliyeti yok. Gerek duyulduğu zaman dönem başkanlığını üstlenen ülkeler Mikta'yı yönlendiriyor ve uluslararası konularda bu önemli 5 ülke istişare yapıyor. Resmi toplantılara girmek istemiyorum ama Mart ayında Mikta dönem başkanlığını biz üstlendik Türkiye olarak ve bu dönemde Mikta'yı mümkün olduğu kadar, rüzgarı şöyle keseceğim, etkin kullanmaya çalıştık. Mikta ülkeleriyle işbirliği yaptık. En son Dışişleri Bakanlarımız Mali'de toplandı. Genç diplomatlara yönelik programlar yaptık. Yine önümüzdeki dönemde yine Mikta ülkelerinin gençleriyle ilgili bazı etkinlikler yapacağız. Ama bir taraftan da kültür ve sanat bizim için önemli dedik. Dolayısıyla dönem başkanlığımızda biraz kültürel sanat etkinlikleri de yapalım dedik. Bu vesileyle Kültür ve Turizm Bakanlığımıza ve özellikle Sinema Genel Müdürlüğümüze teşekkür etmek istiyorum. Bu güzel etkinliği, 2 günlük etkinliği bizle birlikte ve 5 Mikta ülkesinin, 4 Mikta ülkesinin Türkiye'deki büyükelçilikleri ve bizimle birlikte. Filmlerle ilgili büyükelçilere ben açıklama yapma imkanı vermek istiyorum ama bugün şu ana kadar gösterilen 2 film var. Dolayısıyla onlarla ilgili belki bir cümle bahsetmek istiyorum. Kore'de Broker filmi var. Güzel bir film diye duydum seyredenlerden. Yine Meksika'dan Müzeo filmini seyrettim. Büyükelçiler de belki biraz açıklama yapacak. Onun için ben çok girmek istemiyorum. Yarın da Endonezya ve Avustralya filmlerini göreceğiz. Bu açılıştan sonra Türk filmi şampiyonu göreceğiz. Şampiyon da gerçekten çok güzel bir film, güzel bir aşk filmi. Acıklı bitiyor sonu ama biraz acıklı diyorum, acıklı kelimesi de Türk sinemasında önemli bir sıfat aslında. Başka dillere çok kolay çeviremeyeceğimiz. Onun için bu güzel filmi birlikte seyretmeyi öneriyorum. Bu arada tabii Ser Modern, ülkemizin ve Ankara'nın gururu. Gerçekten Türkiye'de bu anlamda imkan sunan, geniş imkanları sunan Ser Modern yönetimine de bize bu imkanı sağladığı için ve bu güzel etkinliğe ev sahipliği yaptığı için çok teşekkür etmek istiyorum. Evet, yeterince teşekkür ettim ama bir kez daha resmi olarak edeyim. Özellikle Kültür ve Turizm Bakanlığımız, Sinema Genel Müdürlüğü'ne, büyükelçiliklere, Mikta ülkeleri büyükelçiliklerine ve Dışişleri Bakanlığı'nda çalışma arkadaşlarıma, Mikta konusuyla da ilgilenen başta Genel Müdürümüz Desen Hanım ve özellikle de Belgin Hanım bugünün hazırlanmasında çok emeğe geçti. Rüzgara rağmen kağıtlarını da korumayı başardı. Çok teşekkür ediyorum ve güzel bir film 2 günü geçirmenizi diliyorum. Okay, so dear ambassadors, I made already my case. I explained how important our 5 countries are in the world, in our regions. I think we are good democracies with open economies. I think in our regions we represent some weight and influence. and we believe that we can contribute more to the peace and stability and welfare in the world. And as I mentioned, that Mikta is one of the organizations that I like most after the EU, because I am, as you know, I am obsessed with the EU. But I like Mikta because Mikta is very efficient. Mikta is not really a bureaucratic organization. Somehow, you know, these 5 countries, which are really strategically important in their regions, but also they are like-minded actually on many issues in the world. And sometimes when we make a statement, when we make a case, we make a difference and we contribute. And I like the way that you know, this organization functions. Again, so we are during our chairmanship, we are not only going to focus on regional and global issues, but also we want to involve the youth, we want to involve culture, arts, and the youth. And I am glad that we were able to organize these 2 beautiful days with your contributions, and also with very strong support of the Directorate General of Cinema of the Ministry of Culture, as well as my colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Economic Department. So, I am not going to mention your movies, because you have the floor. You will say a few words on your movies and on, you know, on this day. But the Turkish movie is also a good one. It's a story about love. It's a story about struggle. And in Turkish we have a saying, it's acıklı, which is not easy to translate into English. It's painful, you know. But it's a good movie. And also, especially for those who like horse riding and horses, this is also good in terms of watching these beautiful horses competing. So, let's enjoy Mikta Film Days. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, ambassadors, dear guests. First of all, let me wish all of you a warm welcome to this festival organized by the Mikta countries, the embassies of Australia, Indonesia, Korea, Mexico, and the government of Turkey. It is a great pleasure to me to see this initiative, which presents films on different subjects to promote cultural diversity and strengthen multilateral ties, is beginning to be reinforced and taking place for the second time. I would also like to acknowledge the effort of all the people involved in the organization of this festival. Thanks to them, it is possible for Turkish audience to experience themes and stories from Latin America, Asia, Europe, and Oceania through the eyes of the directors and actors of living in these countries.
Özel ikinci düzenlenen bu festivalin farklı kültürlerden film gösterileri yaparak kültürel çeşitliliği desteklemek ve ülkeler arası bağları güçlendirme hedefiyle konuk olmak bizi son derece mutlu etmektedir. Festivalin organizasyonunda emeği geçen herkese sonsuz teşekkürlerimi sunuyorum. Organizasyon ekibi sayesinde Türk izleyiciler, Latin Amerika, Asya, Avrupa ve Okyanusya'ya dair hikayeler ve temaları, bu kıtalarda yaşayan yönetmenlerin ve aktörlerin gözünden görmek fırsat elde ettiler.
Since the 90s, Mexican cinema has gone through an essential international revival. Mexican films and directors have increasingly received international acclaim for their work, taking home some of the most prestigious awards in the film industry. Alonso Ruiz Palacios is one of the foremost representatives of the revitalization of Mexican cinema. Museo is Alonso Ruiz Palacios' second feature, where he effectively dramatized the real-life crime and story. The robbery in 1985 of 140 archaeological pieces from Mexico City's National Museum of Anthropology. The director likes to use the historical moments in Mexico as the frame for this storytelling. So, in the end, the movie is not only about the robbery, but also about the peculiarities of life in Mexico City, the nationalism and pride of a country for its history, and the confused ideals, insecurities, boredom, and toxic friendship afflicting the daily existence of the protagonist. Promising director. The introduction of absurd improbabilities into otherwise realistic stories, with the talent of one of Mexico's most recognizable movie stars, Gael García Bernal. It is also important to note that the topic addresses in the movie, the thief of cultural heritage and its commercialization, is a problem that affects both Mexico and Turkey. We are currently working on an agreement that will allow us to work together in this vital. The embassy will work to promote greater rapprochement between Turkey and Mexico in the cultural field. I believe that this film festival realization is a clear example of the existing possibilities. With this, the only thing left to me is to say thanks for you for coming, and I hope to enjoy the movie. And thank you very much.
Director General for movie from the Ministry of Culture, my colleague, ambassadors of Mikta countries, and also my colleagues, other ambassadors from non-Mikta countries who are attending this movie screening. Thank you for coming. Before coming to the stage, I've been whispered by my colleagues that most of the audiences are Turkish. That's why I'll speak in English, and my colleague will directly translate it into Turkish. A picture of Mikta, and that's enough for you to understand how important Mikta is. Now I will tell you about the movie itself. We have chosen one of the most interesting movie in Indonesia to be screened during this festival. Why the movie is interesting, especially with regard to the relation between Indonesia and Turkey, because this movie is about a fragment of our struggle again for independence, the fragment of the story of struggle, Indonesian struggle against the colonial in the movie, here and there in the movie, the beginning and the end of the movie, that there is a trace of Ottoman in our history. You will see how our history of independence, how our struggle of independence has been inspired and even assisted by the Sultanate of Ottoman. It's a way of telling you that despite our diplomatic relation is just 72 years, but our relations as two nations far beyond our diplomatic relations about the movie itself, because you have to come and see the movie itself. I remark by saying that whenever people are gathering and talking about politics, we tend to end up with tension. But when you come and make a gathering and talking about culture, seeing movie especially, and especially when it is attended by youth like you, we can heal the tension. Initiated by the host, by the chair of Mikta, Turkey in this case. Therefore, I would like to express our thanks and gratitude and appreciation for the initiative of the chair to organize this movie festival. We hope that more and more people will understand about the potential of cultural potential of Mikta countries. Thank you very much.
Ministry of Culture and Tourism, Excellencies, all ladies and gentlemen. I agree with our Indonesian colleague that there's not very much more to say about Mikta. But I do want to congratulate Turkey for making a very fast and energetic start to its year in the chair, taking over from Australia in March. We really admire the energy, and I think we're all going to be running very hard to try and keep up with Turkey in this year in the chair. I'd also like to express our appreciation for the fact that Mikta ministers were able to meet earlier this month in Bali. We thank Turkey for that initiative, and for Indonesia, the host of the G20, making that possible. I thank Turkey for organising this festival. I think films from 5 different regions reflecting our respective linguistic and cultural traditions, showing strength in our diversity. I think that's Mikta at its best, so I think it's a very important activity and one that we're certainly very pleased to support. Our film, The Sapphires, which we'll show tomorrow night, is a little bit lighter and maybe a little bit more fun than some of the other films, so it's a good one for a Friday night. It depicts an all-girl singing group, Indigenous Australians. There are some fairly sort of tough scenes of racism in the film. This was set in the 1960s. This group was auditioning to go and entertain the troops, the Australian troops in the Vietnam War. But I think overall you'll find it fairly light and enjoyable. So we're very pleased that we've been able to bring that. In actual fact, we're bringing it back to Turkey because we have shown it some years ago. Once again, many thanks to the Foreign Ministry, the Ministry of Tourism and Culture, Geomodern, for making this possible in this terrific venue. Thank you very much.
Gathering here, I have to say, I'm not the ambassador of the Korean embassy. I'm the counselor, and I'm here instead of my ambassador, Won Lee. Even though he really like to be here tonight, in April schedule made him not to be here. So I apologize. First, there is no translator here, so my remarks should be very, very short. I just like to mention that since I arrived here this March, this year, I could feel that lots of cultural interaction between the Turkish people and Korean people. So it's a really impressive moment for him since I arrived here. So just introducing the Korean movie prepared for this film festival named Broker. It's the movie combined by the world-famous director from Japan and also world-renowned Korean actors and actresses. So I could guarantee this is a really enjoyable movie. So as I mentioned, I should be very concise in remarks. So thank you for coming here to enjoy the Korean movie. çok teşekkür ederim.
We thank for the valuable contributions and invite you all to our reception. Please don't forget that after the reception, the Turkish movie Champion will be screened. Enjoy your evening. Disfruten la velada, salamat malam, Jidun Konyon, Dushigil, Baraminda. Thank you very much. Welcome again. Thank you.